Lose yourself in a good book. The Board Gosh Energy Book Club.
Now, Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell is a set of 6 interconnected tales that span generations and continents to illustrate the basic human condition. The novel begins and returns at the end of the mid-19th century, giving the reader a warning glimpse at the future of society along the journey.
Now, it may sound confusing and intimidating as a book club read. You can say that again. But what did our book clubbers think? Author Claudia Carroll and Bob Johnson from the Gutter Bookshop join us now to give us their opinion of the Booker Prize nominated book. Good morning, guys.
Morning, both.
And before we start, I'll put my hand up at the start and say this book utterly defeated me. And I haven't had to say that about a book for a very long time. Claudia.
Well, it nearly defeated me too, I can tell you. It's a challenging read, would you agree?
Yes.
And it took me, it's almost like, I mean, it's huge, epic, sprawling narrative. If I ever had the privilege of meeting David Mitchell, I'd love to say, how long did it take you to write that? I mean, it must have taken a decade. It could almost be 6 separate books. That's how huge it is. And it's structured like almost a Russian doll. So each story, you know, you kind of finish off one just as you're getting hooked, and that links very cleverly into another one. But there's everything here. It's like, do you want historical fiction? Yeah, got it. Literary fiction? Got it. Dystopian science fiction? Yeah, got that. Back to the 1930s, a little bit of, you know, sort of interwar, deceit, lust, betrayal. Everything is in this book. So I can easily see how it got made into a film. But I think really it was the quality of the writing kept pulling me back. And the fact that I had to come on the show today and talk about it.
If you hadn't had to come on here, if you were reading that for pleasure, would you have dumped it?
I don't know, because I have my new Patricia Scanlon and that was winking at me. Yeah.
Bob, well, I know that Mark and Claudia are kind of in simpatico over this, but I read it when it first came out 10 years ago, and it was the talk of the town in London. Everyone was reading it. Isn't he fabulous? And it is not an easy book to read by any means. The structure is very complex, but his writing is superb. But it does challenge you as a reader. It doesn't give you the normal storyline. There's no nice kind of loop of a narrative beginning and ending. It does confound you.
Yeah, it does, and I think we're saying, you know, it is a difficult book, but it's such a rewarding book when you finished it, you know. It's so cleverly structured, the way that the stories lock together and you go through the time zones and then back through the other way. And it was deliberately constructed that way to try to do something different with the novel. And Claudia's right, it's got every genre in there. So there's crime fiction, there's, you know, there's everything going on. I love it. I'm a huge David Mitchell fan. I think he's so clever with what he does with the novel. And yeah, it's good to have a challenge now and again. His use of vocabulary, his use of language, the way that he can draw a reader in but then, you know, halt it off and start something new. I loved it.
That is frustrating, because just as Claudia said and Mark said, you get hooked and you're like, okay, I'm into this, and then you're cut off and you start again.
But it's deliberately frustrating in what we expect stories to be. You know, one of the central themes I think that runs through the book is how human nature doesn't change and how everything evolves, and you have this feeling of reincarnation which goes through, which actually I have seen the film and I have to say, oh, disappointing film. But it's funny what Claudia was saying when she read it, she saw it as a film. I looked at this, thought, you could never make this book into a film.
And you were right, Bob.
Fair play to them for trying.
Because the movie defeated me as well. I tried the movie over the weekend, and it is beautifully shot. And you have to applaud any filmmaker who attempts it and even throws half a fist at it. It's beautifully done. But it's as incomprehensible as the book. And it's not helped by the fact that Tom Hanks keeps reappearing with various different disguises and different sized noses and ears and half a face.
I mean, that's
still Tom Hanks.
Cleverly done from the feel of the book, but you're right, it's Tom Hanks in funny noses and funny accents. I watched it actually on a flight home from holiday, and it seemed to go on forever.
The book doesn't really call for a translation into film, though. If you were to pick a book and that'll make a great movie, I never would have picked that one. But you thought it would have made a great movie.
I did, you know, because I just thought there's everything here. Like if you're into romantic fiction, there's a little bit of that. If you're into science fiction, dystopian stuff, that's all there. You know, it ticked all the boxes. So I could see how if you were going to produce it. But is the narrative
thread too disjointed?
Well, that's
the point.
No, is the answer. No, it's not, Mark. Well, it's deliberately disjointed, but it's not too disjointed.
It's just that the narrative thread is not as we normally find it in books.
Exactly.
So it's giving you a narrative thread, but in a way you're not used to receiving it. But then people might argue that should a book be hard work?
But yes,
no, should it be that much hard work?
Yes. Sometimes they should. Sometimes you should have to work at things, and that's where the reward comes from.
Would you really want to read a book, Claudia, and walk away from it feeling, am I stupid, or why can't I get this, or what?
It is very challenging. I mean, there's no question about that. And yet, you know, the funny thing is the theme of it is so simple.
Yes.
Like the theme is just how, there's a quote towards the end of the book where one character says, I think it's Adam Ewing from the very start, isn't it? He says, you know, what are we, like he just says, we're just a drop in the ocean, our lives. And he says, but what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? Yeah. And it's how connected we all are. So it is quite a simple theme.
As a feat, I think it's remarkable that one man with one brain managed to put this down on paper.
It's basically 6 books
it's
in one.
You said it, you mentioned it's epic. It absolutely is. The scope
Can you not
is
have summed
enormous.
it all up by saying, though, the more things change, the more things stay the same?
If you want to reduce it down to one sentence.
Love wins out. There's half of literary fiction done in a song.
Good versus evil.
Yeah, exactly. But I think
essence of wit.
but no, I think, you know, it is a big book, and I think people who enjoy a challenge and want to try something different should give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I think if you can make your way through it and admire the language, admire the structure, admire the work that went into it. Sometimes we feel we should just get carried away with a story. And actually books are so much more than that and can be so much more. They are an art form, and this is a form of art.
If you're interested in writing from a craft perspective, this is a lesson
as well.
in it.
And also, it is a great read, whatever you say.
Oh, no, listen,
Bob is the only one of us here who's actually met and shaken the hand of David
I have
Mitchell.
met David Mitchell, and I did fawn all over him because I think I am fanboy
that
of David.
changes everything.
My heart is out. There we are.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
both very much indeed.
Thank you.
And double thanks because it was tough.